Hello, everybody. If you've joined us, just bear with me a few moments. I'm just watching a few people joining as we speak, and then we will get going. So bear with me a second. If you're just joining us, we just got a few more people joining, and then we will get started. So just bear with me. All right, okay. Looks like we've got a fair few people here. So let's make a start. And obviously, if people join in, and they can pick up from where they joined. So welcome everybody on my webinar tonight, which is again on the Spanish Golden Visa. I don't know if any of you have seen any of my previous webinars, but the Spanish Golden Visa is proving to be a very popular route to EU residency, and particularly in the last 6 or 7 weeks, I can honestly say that we've really been inundated with inquiries on the Spanish Golden Visa. For those of you who are not aware of that, this really stems from the changes to the Portuguese Golden Visa, which came into effect around the beginning of last year, it was now. So the Portugal Golden Visa was always really the main route to EU residency, and people favoured the Portugal Golden Visa because the entry point was really low. It was 280,000, which is lower than Spain. There was a number of caveats to it in terms of getting your passport in a very quick amount of time, and people really did favour Portugal. But as of the beginning of last year, Portuguese government announced that you could no longer use property as a way of getting the golden visa. Now, property has always been the most popular route to getting a golden visa, normally because it's the cheapest route, but also because people like property, and property really is a good asset to hold. So does it not only give you the golden visa, but you actually have a good investment as well. So Portugal now is you have to invest a minimum of 500,000. It has to be into an investment fund. It can't be into property. So what's actually happened is people now are starting to look to Spain, and Spain is a really good golden visa scheme. Now, we don't know how long it's going to be around in its current form. So what I'll do today is I'll talk about how it is at the moment. I think what you've always got to bear in mind is that because there's been changes to Portugal's golden visa scheme, it could well be that Spain's does change in the coming year or in the coming years. There's been mumblings in the Spanish government. There's a new government in now, which was towards the end of last year. And there's certainly mumblings around the fact that they will look at the golden visa, particularly because the golden visa does have an effect on property prices, because obviously investment coming in for property to obtain a golden visa can drive up property prices. So the Spanish government will be looking at the golden visa scheme, no doubt, over the next year or so. But obviously now this is how it is. So anyway, welcome everybody. It's nice to have you here. Just to do a bit of the housekeeping, my name's Sam Daines. I'm a senior wealth manager here at Holborn Assets. On the screen there at the bottom, you've got my mobile number, the 00447969059122. That's a WhatsApp number as well. I am actually based in Spain. That is a UK number, but I live and I work in Spain in our Spanish office. So if you make a note of that number, you can always ask me some personal questions if they relate to yourself. If you want to arrange a free review based on your own situation, more than happy to do that. You've also got my email there, sam.daines@holbornassets.com. So please feel free to ask me any questions after the webinar. We have got some questions that were submitted prior to this webinar, and any questions that come up throughout the process, then just feel free to ask any questions and answers, and I'll have a look at the end. And if we run out of time, then obviously I can do that on an individual basis. So yeah, make a note of my email and my telephone number. There's also a QR code there. Now, the way that works, if I'm sure you're all familiar with this, if you scan that code, it does actually access my diary, and you're actually able to book yourself directly into my diary. So if you use your phone, scan the QR code, you can do that. Bear in mind, I'm in Spain, so I know a lot of people watching might be in countries such as the USA and other time zones. So I am happy to work outside of the hours that come up on there. So if you do want to have a free review of your own situation, then just drop me an email and I can book that in for you. You can also find me on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, that sort of thing as well. If you want more information on my YouTube channel, there are other videos which I have done on the Spanish Golden Visa. So there you go. That's the housekeeping side of things. So what we're going to do today is just talk around the Spanish Golden Visa and help you really get a good understanding of how it works and why at the moment it is turning out to be one of the most popular residency schemes. Okay, so the agenda today. What we're going to do first of all is we're going to talk about whole-born assets and whole-born pass. Now, it's just really important so you know who you are dealing with here and how we work. Whole-born Assets is a company that I work for, and part of that company is Whole-born Pass. And Whole-born Pass specialize in citizenship and residency programs. And that's not just in Spain, that is in Portugal. We do Malta, USA, Dubai, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, etc., etc. So all these residency and citizen schemes we do. But I am based here in our Spanish office, and I deal specifically with the Spanish Golden Visa and the workings of the Spanish Golden Visa. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a bit about residency by investment and what exactly that means. You may have heard of residency by investment and citizenship by investment. They are slightly different things. So it's important to understand what Spain gives you and how that can be changed. Spain's program is a residency program, and that can actually then be changed into becoming a citizen. So we'll talk a little bit about that and what benefits you get from residency. We'll talk about the Spain Golden Visa program, how it works, help you understand what you need to qualify. We'll talk about what the process is of the Spanish Golden Visa. It's very complicated, not complicated. In Spain, where I live, I've been here 6 years, and it is a very difficult place to live in getting things done. So we talk about what the process is and how, from start to finish, you would obtain the Golden Visa through doing an investment program. I'll give you some examples of real estate options that you can get that will qualify you for the Golden Visa here in Spain as well. And then we'll do some questions and answers. So I can talk through some of the questions we had coming in prior to the webinar. Any that come up during the webinar, I can answer them. And we will send out a copy of this webinar in the next day or so. So you will have a copy if you miss anything or you need to leave during the program. And then obviously we can catch up if you have any questions following that. So that's what we'll go through today. So with no further ado, let's just talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. So, and this is really important. At Whole-born Assets, first and foremost, we are a global wealth management firm. And what I mean by that is that 25-year, well, it's around, we were established in 1998, so around 26 years ago now. We're set up to be a wealth management firm. So we do everything from investments to pensions, to insurances, to mortgages, to property. We do the whole suite of investments. And first and foremost, for us, it's about looking at good investments for our clients. We're a British family firm. We've got over 500 employees all around the world. We are fully regulated in all the different jurisdictions that we operate. In Spain here, we're actually regulated under the MiFID license. We can provide financial advice to people in Spain, as well as doing the Golden Visa program. But we set up around the world in these international offices so that we can actually advise people if they do move around. So if people move from the country they're into Spain, we can give them advice. If they move from Spain elsewhere, we can continue to give them financial advice. So I work in our Spanish office. Our Spanish office is located in the Malaga region of Spain. So we're right down the south of Spain. We've got an office over in Portugal as well, which is about 4.5-hour drive from where our Malaga office is. It's a nice drive via Seville. So I sometimes work between the two offices, but I'm located down here in Spain. We've got over 20,000 clients. We are a big firm, and we've been going a long time. So we have a lot of experience looking at what good investments look like. And just a bit of background for myself. I've been in financial services for around 24, 25 years. I worked for HSBC in the UK, Nationwide Building Society, Wesleyan Assurance, and I moved over to Spain around 6 years ago. So I've been through the process myself. So I know how tricky it can be navigating the Spanish system, if you like, because things can be quite complicated, they can be quite long-winded, and you really know how to navigate it to make sure that you don't have to keep going back and doing things again because they weren't done right in the first place. So I've been through that process. I've now been here 6 years, and as I say, I specialize in giving the financial advice and doing the golden visa programs for people looking to come over to Spain. Okay, so around 6 years ago, what we did at Holborn Assets is we looked at what our clients wanted, and there was a real hole, if you like, in what people wanted in terms of getting residency and citizenship. And it goes hand in hand with investments. So people wanted to have the mobility benefits of being able to live and move around Europe, which is the way the modern day world is. But they also wanted to do that by having good investment. So it made sense for a company like us to actually take what we have all the experience in and then use that towards doing a golden visa program. So in terms of Holborn Pass, and that's what Holborn Pass is, its investment is a priority. So when we're looking at golden visa programs, we're looking at getting very solid and good, strong investment in order to qualify people for the golden visa. In terms of what we've done, we've processed over 1,000 applicants through to getting a golden visa. The vast majority of these recently have actually been through Portugal, because Portugal was the hotspot. As I said before, you know, the entry point of 280,000 it was for property in Portugal, which really was such a popular scheme. The last year we were the top provider of the Portuguese golden visa. But as I say, because that has now been removed, really the majority of inquiries we are getting are now coming through the Spain Golden Visa program, which is why I will talk you through that. And we've got 100% success rate. So everybody that we put through the process, we have obtained a golden visa for them. And again, the reason I put that is because obviously this is a process that you want to make sure you get right. Behind the scenes with the Spanish Golden Visa program, we use a company called Orient, and they do a lot of our administration and behind the scenes. Now, Orient started back in 2013, just when the Golden Visa program started in Spain. So they really have the knowledge and the experience to know exactly what you need to do to get applications through. And that includes if you are tagging on, you know, your grandparents or dependent children, and they might be in university, etc., etc. We know how to get them cases through. So we've got a 100% success rate there by using companies such as Orient to help our clients. And we've won numerous industry awards, as you can see on the right-hand side, and we are rated excellent on Trustpilot. So this is really what sits me in front of you today, and it's just important you know who to do and who you're dealing with and how we work. And as I say, I've been here for 6 years. I love it here in Spain. I moved across from the UK. It really is a beautiful country to live in. And really, it's a pleasure sort of helping people do the same thing for themselves. So that's a little bit about us. Now, what we provide, before I come on to really what the Golden Visa is, what we provide in terms of our Holborn Pass service. Again, we introduced a scheme really where we can get the best possible investments for our clients, but we essentially do a one-stop shop for people looking to use us. So there's a big list there of what we do, but just to run through it very quickly. If people are looking to get the golden visa, what we can do for them is we can actually do all the residence permit applications. We can submit all the applications on their behalf. We can actually do guidance on real estate, whether that's residential real estate or commercial real estate. We can look at what the best options are for people looking to qualify. We tend to look at, and I'll come on to this a little bit further into the webinar, we tend to look at commercial real estate for people looking for the golden visa in Spain. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is taxes. Taxes are much lower on commercial investments in Spain in terms of transfer taxes than they are on residential investments. So if people are looking for the golden visa, but they don't necessarily want to move somewhere to live immediately, but they want the golden visa, then to buy a residential property that they will be paying a lot more taxes. So commercial asset can be very good, particularly short term, in order to then get them the golden visa, and then that could be changed over to a residential asset. So anyway, going back to what I was saying now, we provide guidance on these opportunities. We talk through the opportunities that are available. We look after all the lawyer side of it, so we can appoint lawyers to do all the due diligence. We do assist you with all the property records, everything like that. We prepare all the sales agreements. We do all the public deeds, everything like that. We assist clients with the fingerprints that you would have to do through the golden visa, because you have to go along and do your biometrics, your fingerprints, etc. We open a Spanish bank account, which we can do without you even coming into the country. We do that for a power of attorney. We can open a Spanish bank account. And the vast majority of this are done without people actually having to come into the country here in Spain. Obviously, the biometrics you will do, but the majority of this process you can do without that. We get you your personal tax number that you need to live in Spain, your NIE number. We assist with the tax representatives as well. We do your residency cards and get them delivered to you. We even do all your annual tax returns associated with any property that you buy, whether that's commercial or residential. But as I say, mainly commercial we do. But we would do all your annual tax returns and we file them on your behalf, which obviously is a massive benefit for people. Having to navigate the tax system here is very difficult. We do all the property management for properties as well. And that includes renting out a property if needs be. We do all that side of it as well. And we also go as far as actually getting you citizenship in Spain, which we'll come on to how to do that. So again, we do a one-stop shop. We make it as easy as possible for people looking to get the golden visa by effectively doing every stage needed. And our admin team with Orients behind us will get that done as quickly and as effectively and efficiently as we can. So that's the service that we provide at Holborn Pass. Now this is whether you use Holborn to get the golden visa or not, this is a really useful way of looking at the way the process works with the Spanish golden visa. And it gives you a very good idea of timelines. Now, I do have all these slides and I have individual information. So anybody watching this that wants me to send anything over, obviously just drop me an email. But the way it basically works with the Spanish golden visa, okay, what you need to do is get your asset in order to then apply for the golden visa. So let's say you're looking at a commercial asset or residential. What you would do, if this was now that you were looking to start the process, you would sign all the legal package to do that. We would do a power of attorney in order for us to be able to open a bank account, obtain your tax number, do all that side of things. And it normally takes around 3 months, 2 to 3 months to do the process from starting to getting the property deed on the chosen property. And that tends to be standard in Spain. It's around 2 to 3 months from the start of a purchasing process to the end of the purchasing process. So once you're in sort of month 3, where my cursor is here, you've then essentially got your asset, your 500,000 asset, which we'll come on to how that works. You would have that asset. And that then means that we could submit your golden visa application. And this part is actually really quick. So once you've actually got the deed to this part, we submit your application. And normally within 21 days, they've got to, I say normally, in Spain, there's lots of bank holidays and certain days where they maybe don't work as longer days as maybe we might hear in the UK, for example. But here, it takes around 21 days to actually get your gold visa. And initially, that would be a visa stamped on your passport that essentially would allow you to live, work and study in Spain. And that would normally take around 3 to 4 months, okay, from the start of the process to getting that. And at that point, you are allowed to come and go from Spain as and when you wish, and you have all the flexibility. After that, we then look at doing the actual formal part of that, where basically we'll go get your biometrics done, which is your fingerprints, that sort of thing, processing your TIE, your tax numbers, things such as this. And then normally that takes about another 3 months, and you then get your official, I haven't got mine with me at the moment, but it's your official residency golden visa card. Looks a bit like that one at the bottom. So you would get that within 6 to 7 months. Now, the Spanish golden visa program is a real positive. It's actually a really quick scheme. It's one way you can get the golden visa a lot quicker than other schemes such as Portugal, where it's traditionally taken a lot longer, more like sort of 2 years, and there's quite a big backlog. But with Spain, it really is quite quickly, and we can often do it quicker than this. A lot of the reason things take longer is because it can take a while for people to get documents back, and that can really be a bit of a sticking point sometimes in getting things done quickly. So that's a rough idea of the process. You get the golden visa stamp that allows you to do everything you want within sort of 3 to 4 months, 3 months normally, and then with around 6 months, you will have your official card. As I say, I've got these documents. If anyone wants them, please just drop me an email or WhatsApp, and I can send that across to you. So Let's take a bit of a backward step here and look about a little bit about what citizenship and residency by investment is. Okay, so the idea of a citizenship and residency by investment program, the golden visa program, if you like, is that a country is trying to attract wealth, trying to attract money into the country. And in return for that, they would then give you the right to live and to work and to retire in that country. So with regards to citizenship and residency programs, this is normally done through real estate, so through property. It can be a donation to the government. It doesn't tend to be so popular because it's not an investment as such, it's just giving money. It can be investing within a business. That can be a bit more complicated because businesses have certain sets of rules. You might have to have a minimum of 12 employees, minimum turnovers, that sort of thing. So it tends to be a less popular route, but business is certainly a route you can do that in. Funds, a bit like Portugal. So we spoke about Portugal no longer has real estate, but funds, there are certain qualifying funds that will allow you to invest within that country, and government bonds. And they tend to be the ways that you're able to actually obtain your golden visa. By far, real estate is the most popular option. And as I said before at the beginning, real estate is popular because real estate is a really good investment anyway. Everybody knows it, generally speaking, house prices and real estate prices will go up. It's a very strong part of a portfolio, and it's a really good way of diversifying assets. So real estate by far is the most popular. But these programs, these citizenship and residency programs, are either a residency by investment program or a citizenship by investment program. Now, a residency by investment program is technically what the Spain Golden Visa is. And what that is, in exchange for a contribution, such as the ones above, that you would get a residency permit, a card that will allow you to live and work and retire and come and go from that country as you please. And that is your golden visa. Now, there are some schemes, golden visa schemes, where they are citizenship schemes. So a citizenship is effectively being a passport holder. So it gives you a few more rights really than a residency scheme. But most people are just happy having residency. They don't necessarily want the citizenship. There's not much more that citizenship will do, but there is certainly some good points to being a citizen of a country. Now, the EU programs, such as Spain and Portugal, tend to be residency programs. They're not citizenship programs. But once you get your residency, so your golden visa, you can then normally change that for a citizenship. So after a period of time, you can change your residency golden visa card to a passport. And that really is what a lot of people look to do. And the time before you can do that varies depending on which golden visa scheme you are looking at. So we'll come on to that with Spain. With Portugal, it was 5 years. So after 5 years, you can change your permit to a passport. And some schemes are longer. Some schemes you can't do that at all. It's just a residency scheme. A lot of schemes outside of the EU, so things such as St. Kitts, St. Lucia, some of these, these sort of maybe smaller, lesser known schemes, they would be citizenship schemes. So straight away you could be given a passport. But obviously the reason a lot of you are here is you're looking at EU residency and specifically Spanish residency. So that's the difference between residency and citizenship. It probably explains it a little bit better on this slide, and this might seem very busy and very confusing. You don't really need to sort of understand all of this, but this shows you all the different programs that we do here at Holborn in terms of citizenship and residency programs. So on the left-hand side, these are the citizenship programs. So these are the ones that will give you your passport almost immediately in return for doing the investment. So on here, you've got Antigua, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, Vanuatu, Malta, and Turkey. And you can see at the time, it takes you 4 months to get your passport with Antigua, 4 months for St. Lucia, Dominica, 4 months, and so on. And that tells you there how much you need below that. Non-refundable, that's how much you'd have to pay. A lot of these are just these are donations, they're not even minimum investments, but that's not the side we're looking at. These are the citizenship programs. On the right-hand side is the residency programs, and this is where you will find Spain. You've actually got USA there as well, and the United Arab Emirates, but we're looking at Spain here. Now, with Spain, to change your residency, your golden visa card, into a passport, you have to, it takes 10 years. So it's quite long compared to Portugal, which is 5 years. It actually takes 10 years before you can change your golden visa card into a passport. And there are certain caveats to that as well. You actually have to live 5 years for over 6 months a year in Spain in order to change it to a passport. However, there is a little known fact, and for anybody to watching who has a ex-Spanish colony passport, and I'll explain that on one, I think it's the next slide or in the next couple of slides. It means you can get your passport in just 2 years. You can get a Spanish passport, an EU Spanish passport in just 2 years if one of the applicants has an ex-Spanish colony passport. And I will list the countries, and there are a fair few. So although it's 10 years for a lot of people, such as myself, to change my residency into citizenship, for ex-Spanish colony passport holders, it is only 2 years. And that is a massive benefit for people that have that, a huge benefit. You do have to spend over 6 months of the 2 years in Spain, but it is only 2 years and you can convert. And then, of course, once you've got your passport, you don't even have to hold your investment anymore, which we'll come on to, because you're actually just a passport holder then. With a golden visa, you would have to continue to hold your investment for the time you want to keep the golden visa. So anyway, great part of the Spanish scheme, that is. The minimum investment with Spain is 500,000 euros. That's what you need to invest in property in order to get a Spanish golden visa. However, we do a scheme where you can do it for as little as 350,000, which I will speak about. We introduced it as a way of, I suppose, making it easier for people that were used to a lower entry point with Portugal, because Portugal was always 280,000. And obviously, it's quite a jump for 500,000 with Spain. So we've introduced a unique scheme that we do, whereas you can actually qualify for as little as 350,000. Now, the way that works is the minimum investment is still 500,000 in property in Spain. But the way we do that is actually we can pay rental income up front. So you can start by paying 350,000 yourself. There is costs like legal costs, taxes, but it's there or thereabouts 350,000. And you will actually be given 150,000 up front as rental income. So that's 10 years rental income up front to make it up to the 500,000. So it is a 500,000 investment, but the client is only paying 350,000. And this is incredibly popular at the moment, because it can get you your golden visa for a lot less. And we've actually got a guaranteed buyback at the end of the 10 years as well. So you're guaranteed to get your 350,000 back at the end of the 10 years as well. But I'll talk a little bit more of that towards the end when we're talking about qualifying assets. But again, so although the entry point is 500,000, it can be as little as 350,000 for Spain. If you look at Portugal here, if anyone's looking at that, it's no longer 280,000. It is 500,000, and you can't do that in property anymore. It has to be an investment fund. There's some other points with regards to Spain. You can tag your children onto your application for children under 18, and even children over 18 to be tagged on, but we have to prove that they're dependent. The team at Orient know exactly how to do that. So we have people that we've got going through at the moment where they've got dependent children who may be 20, 21, even up to 23, 24, but they're at college. Well, we can actually tag them on. Dependent parents we can do if they're over 65. So as long as we can prove there's some sort of dependency, then they can be tagged onto the application. Obviously, your partners as well will be tagged onto the application. So for one investment, you can essentially take over a pretty large family to benefit from all the benefits you get through the Gold Visa, which is things such as the right to live and work, pensions, healthcare. All your family can benefit if you put them onto the one application. And as I say, that this is exactly what we would do for people. We would do that whole process for all of the people looking to apply within the family. There's a few other facts there. Again, I don't want to go, there's lots of information on here, but things such as the amount of countries, so the Schengen countries you can visit with regards to the golden visa. So you can move visa free throughout the Schengen countries. There's 187 countries that you can visit visa free. So it's loads of benefits like that. The Spanish passport is actually ranked the 5th strongest passport in the world. So people that do go and get the Spanish passport, it's a really strong passport in terms of navigating the globe. So again, very, very good program, the Spanish one. And it is the main route that we're finding for people now looking for EU residency. People are looking towards Spain now that Portugal is less desirable. So there you go. So why Spain? And I know a lot of you will probably be watching this because you've visited Spain. Obviously, you like Spain. You may have holidayed here. I mean, I know why I made the move. It's a beautiful country. The weather, the lifestyle in Spain is it's really really nice. It's like coming from the UK. Spain is so much more relaxed. Plus, you get the weather, and obviously being down here in the south of Spain, it really is pretty much sunshine most days. It's so nice. And it's actually ranked first country worldwide for quality of life in Spain, which I know from living here, it doesn't surprise me at all. It's actually the second most visited country by international tourists worldwide. As I say, I think most people have visited Spain, partly because of the weather, but obviously because of the great location for the rest of Europe. As I said before, living here, I can drive into Portugal in it's about 2.5, 3 hours. You go via Seville, it's really easy across the border. There's no when you travel throughout Europe here, there's no, you're not really getting borders where you're having to go through passport control. It is literally just driving past, you've got a sign saying welcome to Portugal. It's really, really simple. The fourth biggest economy in the world here in Spain and 14th in the world. I mean, obviously, I've been here 6 years, and I know certainly the economy feels very strong now. There's lots of jobs available here as well. Maybe Spain did go for a recession some time ago, along with a lot of the other parts of Europe, but it's really strengthened now as a country. So yeah, it's got a very strong economy, lots of jobs available, and you're really seeing that when you live here. Ranked the fifth best country in the world to live in. I don't know why it got number 5. As I said, I put it higher up, but there you go. Sixth best retirement destination through the annual Global Retirement Index. So it's a really good place to retire, particularly for health actually as well. My wife's parents live here because a lot to do with the health and the warm climate, and the healthcare here is really good as well. It's actually got the 7th best public healthcare system in the world, and I've used it here myself, and it is a very, very good healthcare system for people moving here. So again, probably don't need to convince people watching this, because the reason you're here is because you do have that love for Spain and you do want to be living in Spain. But it's just to sort of bring that out of what a lovely country it is to live in. So the Spanish Golden Visa then. So back to really what we're talking about. The Spanish Golden Visa actually was introduced back in 2013. The scheme was introduced really as a way of getting foreign income into Spain. And it proved really, really successful. So it's been going now, 11 years, coming into its 11th year. And there's been well over 9,000 approved Golden Visa applications now. And that is just increasing and increasing. And it's actually raised over 3.5 billion in foreign direct investment. So it's done what it was supposed to when the Spanish government brought it in. Now, I'm going to say at this point, because this is really, really important, and I did an article for a number of online websites regarding what is going to happen to the Spanish Golden Visa scheme. There's been, as I said, there was murmurings last year. There's been I mean, people that know the sort of politics in Spain, there's been a sort of change in government, a coalition government. And really, there's been other things that have kind of brought people's eyes away from the Golden Visa scheme. It's not really been too much of a focus. But there's been a number of issues raised by opposition parties about the Golden Visa scheme, not just in Spain, actually in Europe generally, but Spain particularly. And similar to Portugal, the main reason for this is they're thinking, well, this investment, this 3.5 billion, for example, in foreign direct investment, has a knock-on effect on house prices and property prices, and it's making it really difficult for people to afford to live and buy properties in Spain. So the logical thing now that the new government's in and they're settled down, and that was towards the end of last year, is they will review all of this. And I think one thing that a new government will do will be to look at the Golden Visa scheme and to assess, similar to what Portugal have done, as to whether property should still remain an option for the Golden Visa. And it might get rid of the Golden Visa altogether, but I think that's unlikely. Now, what happened with Portugal, that when property was removed from the Golden Visa options, anybody that was in the process or had got the Gold Visa, they will always honour that. They won't retrospectively take it away from people. It would only be for new people coming in. So if anybody is interested in doing the Golden Visa and using property, please be mindful to do it sooner rather than later if you really are serious, because I can almost guarantee you towards the end of this year, this will be looked at and then there will be changes to it. But anybody that's in the process or doing it, it will be honoured. So anybody that wants property, please bear that in mind. And the beauty of Spain and the Spanish Golden Visa scheme, very different to a lot of the other schemes out there, is you don't need to spend time in Spain. So, for example, if you're thinking, well, I don't want to live in Spain maybe for another 3 years because I'm not retiring till then, or I'm not going to make the move yet, there's nothing stopping you buying the asset now, qualifying for that golden visa and not having to spend any time in Spain whatsoever, but just having that golden visa card will give you all the rights to come and go from Spain as you please. And then when it is the time is right for you to move over here to Spain, you can do so. And even if the scheme's been removed, you'd already be into the scheme. So it's very popular for people at the moment because they don't need to spend any time in Spain. You can carry on with your day-to-day life, but start to make that transition now. So that's the great thing about the Spanish scheme. Most of the other EU schemes will require you to stay there for a minimum amount of time each year, which makes it a little bit more difficult for people. Spain doesn't require that at all. Any non-EU citizens can apply. If you are a EU citizen, you can apply, but it would be little point because you've already got the EU benefits. But as long as you've got no criminal record, and that tends to be more similar, serious criminal offences, not sort of driving offences or anything like that. But bear in mind any non-EU citizen, and that is all nations as well. So, some people think that some nations may be excluded. Not at the moment. Anybody can apply. And as I say, you can include your spouse, your children, and your parents onto there. So children have to prove to be dependent. And it can be an age 22, 23 dependent college student or university student. And parents over the age of 65 that are dependent, and presumably you'd want to bring your spouse as well. So you can have lots of people on an application should you so wish, and really bring the whole family over here and benefit from it. So in terms of the golden visa benefits, what does it give you? Why would you want the golden visa? Well, I'm sure a lot of you would know this, but basically, very simply, it gives you the right to live and to work in Spain. Same as I have, and same as anybody that was born in Spain will have. You can live and you can work in Spain. Not like some of the other visas that are available where you're not allowed to work, but you can stay. This gives you it's the all singing, all dancing visa. You can live and you can work here. You can freely travel and stay with all of the 26 Schengen countries here. So you can move around, as I say, over to Portugal. You can move around as you want. You don't have to fill in any visas. You can just move visa-free. You can actually establish a business in any of the Schengen areas and Schengen countries as well. The 5-year tax exemption for expats. There are tax benefits as well given to expats. But again, we can get in-house tax advisors involved if people want to look at that in more detail. But that would be people that are using us further down the line. We can do that. You get access to jump forward there. You get access to the healthcare here as well in Spain. So say it's ranked seventh globally by the World Health Organization, and you also can qualify for the pensions here in Spain. So for all intents and purposes, it really benefits you from a lot in terms of that. Here, bear with me 2 seconds. So yeah, it qualifies you as if you were living here essentially, right from the outset if you'd always been here. So it gives you a lot of benefits there. So if I just go on to the next bit here. So what we want to do is look at, and I put this in really because there's always a little bit of myths and facts about the Spanish Golden Visa. I just want to make this very clear for anybody watching, and we have run through a lot of this already, but let me just make it clear for you. First myth is that you have to spend time to maintain residency. So to make it clear, as I said before, there is no minimum stay requirements in Spain. You can apply for the Golden Visa. You can do most of that remotely without even being in Spain, and you don't have to visit at all, other than to do your biometrics to get your card. Once you've got your card, you can leave, and you don't need to come back until you want to. So you have no minimum stay requirements. Only residential real estate qualifies. That's not true. Any type of real estate qualifies. That could be commercial, residential. It can even be car parking spaces. It doesn't have to be real estate, and it has to come to the value of 500,000. So we tend to concentrate on commercial, as I mentioned earlier, and the reason for that is commercial properties and assets are a very good way of what we call being a compliance asset. It will give you the golden visa, but it's a lot less tax you pay on a commercial asset. So we find that as an investment company tends to be what we would favor, unless of course someone is just buying a property to live in for 500,000 and they know where they want to go and they know where they want to live, then that's fine. That will qualify you. But if you're not really sure, you just want to get the asset now, then commercial assets are the way to do it because you will attract a lot less tax. You must buy one property of at least 500,000. No, that's not true. You can invest as many as you like to make up to 500,000, but they have to have been bought after 2013 when the scheme was introduced. So do bear that in mind, but you can have a number of properties, not just one. There are limitations in where you can invest. No, there's no limitations. You can include anywhere. So that includes the Balearic and the Canary Islands. We tend to, when we look at investment opportunities, we tend to look at Barcelona and Madrid for very obvious reasons. You've got to be careful in Spain in terms of the property market, and you need to know that where you're buying and you're looking at your investments, you need to know are going to be strong and reliable investments. So we find that Spain, Madrid and Barcelona would tend to be the preferred destinations for us because we know it's a bit like in UK. If you look at London, you know you've got very strong housing and commercial market. Next thing, the process is long and vague, not at all. It's the fastest process amongst all the EU programs. You actually get your residency issued within 21 days of submission, but bear in mind you need to get the asset first, but it's 21 days after you have the asset, so it's incredibly quick. And the other one is the Spanish program is expensive, and it's really not. So once you, other than getting that holding asset, so your minimum asset you need, the actual other costs you incur are really minimal. So for example, to get your tax number is only 73 euros. It's not like Portugal is a classic example of this, where the renewals and things such as that can be really expensive. In Spain, it's not. It's really, really cheap. So again, it's good from that point of view. And the last point now, I have to live in Spain 10 years to qualify for my passport for citizenship. Well, as I mentioned before, former colonies can obtain their citizenship within only 2 years. If you're an ex-Spanish colony passport holder, then there's significant benefits to this. And I'll touch on this now, actually, for people that are watching that may have that connection. So this is to get your Spanish passport. So for people such as myself, where my background is not ex-Spanish colony, then I would have to wait 10 years to apply for the passport, the Spain passport. And I would have to live 5 years for over 6 months a year in Spain in order to qualify for the passport. Okay. But if you are an ex-Spanish colony, and these are the countries that are ex-Spanish colonies, I will read them out. So it's Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Equatorial Guinea, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, the Philippines, Uruguay, and Venezuela. And in addition, Andorra and Portugal, but you probably wouldn't want the Spanish Gold Visa if you're in Portugal. But those countries there, if you have the main applicant that we put on there is from one of those countries, then you can actually get your passport in only 2 years. But you have to live more than 6 months a year in the country for them 2 years. But you can then apply and get your citizenship. And to get your citizenship, to get your passport, you have to do a basic language level test. It's relatively easy, and I'd say easy. I'm not very good at Spanish here. I've been here 6 years, but I think if you lived in here and you had learned the language, it's not particularly hard to pass. Cultural exam, as you'd expect, so they know that you've integrated with the culture here in Spain. And as I say, you need to live in Spain for 2 years if you're ex-colony, or 5 years if you are not. Okay, but that would then get you the third best passport in the world. You would have a Spanish passport. And in terms of do you need to get rid of your other passport? It's technically not. Nobody ever checks that you get rid of your other passport. But in reality, they expect this would replace your old passport. But no, you can hold both passports, and depending on where you're traveling, use whichever passport you like. So third best passport in the world. And then with that passport, you can travel to 190 countries visa-free. So it's a really, really good passport to get. And it's achievable. It's not one of these ones where you won't be able to do it. If you wanted a passport, you can do it. It's just putting in the hours and the time to get to be qualifying. And you can live then and work anywhere in the EU. And obviously, certainly from the UK, coming from the UK like I do, with Brexit, to have the right to live and work anywhere in the UK is a huge benefit. It really is a huge benefit. And obviously people from the USA, Canada, Australia, obviously you have that right then to live and work anywhere in the EU. So that is your Spanish passport. So now we'll talk a little bit about investment options. Okay, so as I said before, when you do the Spanish Golden Visa, you've got a number of different ways that you can get the Golden Visa. Okay. First one is real estate for 500,000, as I spoke about. This is the most popular way, first and foremost, because it's the cheapest. Not only that, the cheapest, people like real estate. However, what you can do, number two, is you can actually buy equity in a business, but that is then €1 million. So obviously that's double the amount of money. It can potentially be higher risk as well, and doesn't tend to be anywhere near as popular. You can put money in a bank deposit or investment fund for 1 million. Again, it's a lot of money. You'd have to be a millionaire, obviously, to then do that. So it seems a lot more money. Whilst with the real estate, as I say, you can do it for as little as 350,000 if you use a scheme such as ours. Or you can do government bonds for 2 million, which, as you can imagine, is very much the least popular. And you would have to hold this asset for the amount of time that you wanted to keep the golden visa. So, it's not a matter of just getting your property, getting your golden visa and selling it. You need to renew your golden visa. And so initially it's for 3 years, and then you renew it every 5 years. But you would need to keep that asset in order to be able to renew. But obviously, if you then change to a passport, you don't, because you're then a passport holder. So you're not a golden visa holder anymore. You're a passport holder. Also, you can change, I'm probably going off the point here, but you can change your golden visa when you get it. Let's say after a period of time, it's 5 years, you can actually change your golden visa to a permanent residency if you've lived in the country. So you can actually change it then to become a permanent resident. So as long as you're spending more than half the year in the country, you can convert the golden visa to becoming a permanent resident, and then you could sell the asset that you've got because you're then a permanent resident. But you'd then be restricted. So unlike with a golden visa where you don't need to stay in the country, if you become a permanent resident, you would need to stay in the country. So some people prefer the flexibility of having a golden visa, but if you're really buying into the living in Spain and wanting to be here, then you can change it to a permanent residency. So now I'm going to talk through the options that we have to help people, the example of what you can do in order to get a golden visa. And as I said before, what a lot of people will look at is 500,000. If you buy a residential house that you want to live in for 500,000, then you will qualify for the golden visa. For people watching think, well, I know where I want to live. I'm moving over to Spain. I want to spend 500,000 on a house. Then you'd qualify. That's fine. You would qualify. But a lot of people aren't looking. It's not as simple as that in terms of what they're looking to do. So we offer 3 solutions for our clients. So on the right-hand side, we do residential. So what we can look at for people is potentially a second home or an investment property in terms of residential, okay? On the left-hand side here, we can also do commercial assets, which are for 500,000. So residential would be 500,000, commercial would be 500,000. That's the minimum amount you'd have to invest. Now, I'll say, before I go on to the 350,000 option, with the commercial option for 500,000, just to explain why it's, from an investment point of view, why it's the preferred option that we look at. When you buy a commercial asset in Spain, the transfer taxes tend to be around 1.5% to 2.5%, depending on where you're buying. So that could be Madrid, Barcelona. They vary. It's 1% difference between Madrid is slightly cheaper than Barcelona. By the by, it's 1.5% to 2% on transfer taxes to buy that commercial asset. If you buy a residential asset, your transfer taxes are between 8 and 11.5%. So immediately, a residential asset will cost you at least 40,000 more than a commercial asset on the 500,000 investment. So it's immediately 40,000 more. So if you are moving somewhere and you don't know where you're going to initially want to live, obviously getting a residential asset, you're immediately paying 40,000 more than if you were looking at commercial. So that's one of the benefits. Now, the other benefit of a commercial asset is they're long-term leases. So if it's an investment, you buy it, it's a long-term lease. The tenants in the property will cover most of the expenses. Unlike a residential, the landlord would normally have to cover most of the expenses. And the average rental yield on a commercial asset is normally between 4 and 6%. It says 5% there, but we've got ones that really go up to 6%. So it's normally around 4 to 6%. On the residential asset, it's around 2 to 3%. So where I'm going with this is, if you take the emotional hat off and you look at this as an investment and you look at it as a compliance asset, of a way to get your golden visa, then a commercial asset would make more sense, at least until the point where you know where you're going to want to live and you're settling in Spain. So let's say you move, I know when I moved over here, I didn't immediately know where I wanted to live. So I spent sort of 3 years deciding where I wanted to settle down, and that's where I am now. But obviously, if I'd gone in straight away with a golden visa and moved where I initially thought I wanted to be, then you're already paying that sort of 40,000 more tax, getting less income coming in. So as I say, if you take your emotional hat on and think with your head, it does make more sense. A commercial has a high, so the way you can go with this, with regard to the 500,000 property, if you can get a rental income of between 4 and 6%, then you can actually use that rental money to live in a far better property until you decide where you want to go. You can have that rental income coming in, that's a decent amount of income that can then pay for you to rent until you decided where you wanted to establish roots. And then at that point, you could sell the commercial asset and you could then buy the asset that you then want to live in. And as I say, when it comes to commercial assets, we do the one-stop shop management for you. So you don't even have to file the tax returns. We do everything for you, get you the golden visa, and literally manage it for you until such a point that you want to sell it. So that's the 500,000 commercial asset. We do the full package there, so we can do all the, as I say, the management of it. With the residential, we can look for that as well. But as I say, it will be a lot more expensive in terms of the extra costs associated with buying it. But where we differ from everybody else is the middle option. And this is what we introduced really just as a way of sort of not competing with, but helping people who were used to the Portugal route in terms of real estate. And the idea of the 350,000 option is basically you would pay 350,000. You're immediately paid 150,000 up front, which is the equivalent of 3% per annum for 10 years, and you are paid that up front. So that gives you 150,000. So you add that 150,000 to the 350,000, and that gives you your 500,000 qualifying amount. The income from that then for the next 10 years is not paid to you because you've had that up front, but you don't get involved in any of the management. You're not liable for any of the taxes on it. You're not liable for any of whether it's rented or not rented, or whether there's tenants in it or not. It's not your concern. That's all done for you. Essentially, instead of getting 4 to 6%, you've been given 3% up front. So obviously you've been given less than what you would have got for 500,000. And the difference really in that rental income is what is providing the payment to the tax on your behalf. If there's any point where the property isn't tenanted, it's not your concern. It's all written into the contract that essentially you have nothing to do with the property, although it's in your name. After 10 years, the property, you have 3 options. You can either sell the property at the open market to whatever it's worth in 10 years' time. You get a guaranteed buyback. So if there's some disaster in the property market, you actually get a guaranteed buyback of 350,000. So you're guaranteed to get your money back at the end of 10 years, or you can just keep the asset and actually have an income coming in. So that's the option with the 350,000. And I'll speak about it a little bit more in, I think it's the next slide or the slide after that. Okay, here we go. So as I say, the steps of the 350,000 option. So it's a 500,000 investment, commercial investment in Barcelona or Madrid. These can be catering, retail, offices, bars. We've done all the due diligence. We found the assets. You would select which one you prefer, whether it's Barcelona or Madrid. We tell you what we have available. You're immediately paid the 3% up front for 10 years. So it gives you your 150,000, which gives you the 500,000. And then we do the whole process of buying that property on your behalf, getting you the golden visa, managing that property, which you then hold for the 10 years. Now, the way it works is after 10 years, you can exercise the buyback and get your 350,000 back, which is the money that you paid out. In reality, that's not really going to be the best option in 10 years' time for you, because the best option would be to sell it at the open market at a going rate. Because bear in mind, it was worth 500,000 in the beginning, and in 10 years' time, it's likely to be worth way more than that. So that's probably the route you'd go. But you've got peace of mind that you know you'll get your 350,000 back if the property market had crashed. Or you just maintain ownership of the asset and you can collect the rent, so you can just keep hold of it. Now, if you wanted to get rid of it before year 10 on the 350,000, you can do, and there's guaranteed buybacks, but it depends how long you've held it and it goes up. So they apply a discount on what they'll buy it back for because you've been given the rent up front. So obviously the full buyback is after year 10, but if, for example, year 9, you could get given 315,000 or year 8, 280,000. So this has all been worked out in terms of you've been given money up front. So obviously if you're going to get out at the end of 10 years, you'd have to pay some of it back. So it's a really good scheme for people who just want to have an asset and forget about it. That's what it's designed to have, and do it for a really cost-effective price. So that is the 350,000 option. If anyone wants to talk about that, please feel free. It's a non-obligation free consultation, but scan, I think at the end, there'll be my code on there again. Scan it or take my number, and obviously feel free to contact me or email me, and I'm more than happy to chat through it with you in specific detail and give you, far more in-depth knowledge of sort of how it works. The other option is you go down a 500,000 commercial option. So this is an example of one. This was from a while ago. This was a cafe in Madrid called Bipolar. It was a restaurant cafe, and that was 600,000 price. We do them for 500,000, but this was one that was 600,000 qualifying price, and they paid a rent of just over 3,000 euros a month. We managed that for the clients. So essentially, you have a holding asset, you're paid a regular income, a passive income. You don't have to get involved in the management. You can do if you want, but a lot of people don't really want that. And then at a point that, let's say in 2 or 3 years' time, you think, well, now I want to buy a residential house, you could sell the asset and obviously buy the residential property. So that's it. That's an example of what we have available for people. We can also look at residential, but as I say, you just need to be mindful of, and give you some quotes of what it would be, but you need to be mindful of what the costs are in terms of the tax, because it really is quite a lot more when you see the quotations for it. So please, again, take a note of my email and my telephone number on WhatsApp and the scan code there, the QR code, because you can put yourself directly in. Please feel free to do that. As I say, it's not, you can just have a free discussion. We can talk through whether we can help you and how it all works. But I have got some questions that I was asked. Right, so let me just find where they were. And I'll answer these as best they came. These came in before the webinar. So the first one came in: can UK citizen residents with a Spanish golden visa staying 90 to 180 days in Spain also stay 90 days in another EU country? So yeah, the way it works with Spain is you would get the 90-day rule. So every time you go to, if you've got the residency and you are a UK citizen or a Spanish resident, got a Spanish residency card, you can reset by going, say, to Spain, staying in 90 days, then you can go and revisit any other EU country for 90 days. So the 90 and 180-day rule applies. But you can move, you can use Spain as your reset point, as well as the country, obviously, that you're a passport holder of. So it makes it a lot easier for people to navigate the 90 and 180-day rule. So again, another good part of the Spanish Golden Visa program. Can investment in property be your primary residence? Yeah, absolutely. And this is what, what I'm saying. If you're going to move over to Spain, you know exactly where you're going to want to live, and you're going to buy a house for 500,000, then you qualify, and you can get any legal company to help you just get your golden visa. We will only do it if you're using us for the whole process. That's because we actually have all the in-house team to do it, but it's simple enough to do that if needs be. Can we buy any property in Madrid or Barcelona that have 500,000, or we have to buy from the list from the government? No, any property. So there is no government list with this. I see where you're going with this. No, it can be any property as long as your purchase price is bought after 2013 and your purchase price is 500,000 or over. As I say, we've got the 350,000 scheme, but technically the purchase price will still show as 500,000. Then you would qualify. You would have a qualifying asset. At least that's the way it is now, but obviously this may change in the future. If you sell your UK house in the same year as purchasing in Spain, do you get taxed twice? Can't really answer the tax questions. I have to be careful with this because we're not tax advisors. We can help you with tax if you're going to use us. We have in-house tax advisors at Orients. So we could potentially help you with that. So anyone looking to go through the process but want a little bit of tax advice, we can do it. If you want to use us, we have the in-house people at Orients to help us. So what requirements for the Spanish Golden Visa? What do you need prior to applying? The applying process to us is really simple. We effectively will get your passport, proof of address. We then put together everything that we need. We send you a pack through that will tell you exactly what we need. But a lot of it will be apostilled documents. It might be things such as marriage certificates, that sort of thing. It's probably one for me to go through on a one-to-one basis. If you want to know, I've got documentation that will tell you exactly what you need, so I can always send that to you. Explain where, so I've gone through the 150,000 to qualify for the golden visa is coming from. It's rental income paid up front. And there's no implications in terms of tax implications or anything else. You're essentially being paid 3% up front. And it's kind of like a 10-year contract, really, with that one. Although, obviously, you can get out earlier. It's more restrictive than doing it the 500,000 way. But obviously, bear that in mind. So, again, I can go through that on a one-to-one basis. More than happy to do that. Right. If you already own a 250,000 property in Spain, would it be possible if you buy more properties for 250,000? Yes, as long as it all totals 500,000, you'd qualify. Selling and repurchasing properties to support the 500,000, right? Well, you need to make sure you can't be any day without owning the property. So you'd need to sell and buy essentially on the same day, so it doesn't break up the ownership, which a solicitor will make sure happens. But do bear that in mind. You can't sell and then wait 2 weeks and then buy again. It would have to be simultaneously to make sure that you carry on to qualify, basically. I'm a bit conscious of time there. So there is an age limit of 18 to include children in program. Does this age limit increase if the child is studying at university? Yes. So essentially, as long as we can prove that they're dependent, then we can put them on the application. And if you're at university, it is qualified. We've got people going through it at the moment, so we'll know exactly what you need to do to get it through if you're interested in doing that. But yes is the answer to that. Although it says 18, they can most definitely be older than 18 if they're dependent. If you cohabit with partner in the UK, are you included like a spouse? Yes. If you cohabit, you've got it. It's that scenario, I forget what they call it, whereas basically you prove that you are as one, that you'd live together and you share your life, basically. So yes, that you could be included as joint applicants, absolutely. And it would be treated as if you were married. So you'd only need one 500,000, not two, and you would go through on the same application. Is 500,000 based on the value or the purchase price? It's based on the purchase price, so not the value. You can buy a bit of land, a parking space in the middle of Madrid. Well, it's probably quite expensive, actually, bad example. A parking space in the middle of nowhere, and if you pay 500,000 for it, you bought real estate for 500,000. It's effectively the money going into the country, so it would qualify. But obviously, you want to make sure you're getting a really good asset for 500,000. You don't want to be buying some rubbish. But yes, in answer to your question, it's based on the purchase price. My spouse is Brazilian. Did not see Brazil on the list as a qualifying Spain colony. Yes, it is on the list. Sorry if it wasn't there. Yes, they do qualify. So yeah. So UK spouse also, yes. So both of you would get citizenship after 2 years. If you're on the same application, you'd both benefit from one person having an ex-Spanish colony, and Brazil does qualify. So yes, Brazil's on there, most definitely on there, and you could both, even if one of you is British and one of you is Brazilian, you could both go on the same application. So that's all the questions I've had coming in, I think. Let me just say, I'm just very conscious of time. Is 150,000 prepaid rent taxable income? No, it's done in a way that probably best to explain this on a one-to-one, but this is a really good question. The 150,000 is paid within, the way it's done is done within the management company itself. Orients will manage it. And although you're paid the rental income up front, it's not technically being paid to you. It's the way it's structured. It's done in a relatively complicated way, which we can talk you through. We can also, get our lawyers involved if you want to speak to them. But it's not taxable income at all on the 350,000 option. The idea of that option is really that you just don't have any liability at all yourself. Right, I'm really conscious of time now because we are literally, I think that's all the questions I had coming in, but please, just make a note of the number there on the screen and my email, and book yourself in or have a chat. I'm more than happy to help. As I say, the time's just sort of gone past 8 o'clock here in Spain now, so I better sort of log off. But please feel free to contact me. We will send a copy of this out. You have my email address. It doesn't matter what questions or how stupid they seem. Please feel free to contact me. I'm more than happy to chat through everybody's individual situation. I hope you found it useful. I know when you watch things like this, it does bring up loads more questions. So please feel free to ask me anything. And thank you for joining me tonight. We'll carry on doing these webinars as well. So keep an eye out on Spain Guru or even on my YouTube channel. If you Google Sam Daines, because we do have new products that we're going to introduce as well in the form of hotels, interestingly, which we're looking at in the middle of March, where it's a similar principle. You can invest for 350,000 with income paid up front. It's a bit more complicated. We're putting that together as well. So we're really trying to give people some, while it's still available, the Spanish Golden Visa property, we're really trying to put together some really good investment packages for people. So I'll keep people in the loop on that. If you look at it, search my name, Sam Daines, Spanish Golden Visa on YouTube, you'll find my channel on there. So feel free to subscribe. I try to do one of these every 2 to 3 weeks, but obviously just keep hold of my number and let me know if you've got any personal questions. But thank you everyone for joining anyway. I hope you found it useful, and hopefully I will speak to you all. So wishing you a great evening. Thank you very much.